The Ancestor's Tale, by Richard Dawkins, is a grand exploration of evolutionary history, tracing the ancestry of humans and all living organisms, back to the dawn of life on Earth. The book is structured like a pilgrimage, with modern species traveling back in time to meet common ancestors along the way. As Dawkins leads readers through this journey, he delves into the scientific principles underpinning evolution, the nature of species, and the complex web of life. Below is a detailed note summarizing the key ideas and themes from the book. One of the central concepts in The Ancestor's Tale is Dawkins' reverse pilgrimage approach to evolutionary history. Instead of moving forward from a common ancestor to modern species, as is typically done in evolutionary studies, Dawkins takes readers on a backward journey. This pilgrimage begins with humans and moves progressively back through time, encountering various species, both living and extinct, at significant points where their evolutionary paths and ours diverged. This method allows Dawkins to explore the concept of common ancestry in a way that highlights the interconnectedness of all life. The backward approach makes it clear that humans are not the pinnacle of evolution, but one of many species shaped by the same fundamental processes of natural selection and genetic variation. By starting with modern species and tracing their lineage to a single common ancestor, Dawkins emphasizes that all species are equally advanced, in the sense that they have evolved to thrive in their particular environments. Throughout the journey, Dawkins introduces rendezvous points, where various groups of organisms meet their common ancestors. These ancestors serve as milestones in the evolutionary tree, representing key moments in the history of life. For example, humans share a common ancestor with chimpanzees about 6 million years ago. But as we go further back, we encounter ancestors shared with all mammals, reptiles, amphibian, fish, and eventually, all living organisms. Dawkins uses these rendezvous points to explain the evolutionary relationships between different species and the concept of ancestors, a term he coins for common ancestors. By focusing on these shared ancestors, Dawkins shows how diverse species have evolved from a single source, challenging the idea of rigid, unchanging categories of life. He stresses that species are fluid and constantly changing, with clear boundaries often hard to define. Dawkins delves deeply into the mechanisms that drive evolution, such as natural selection, genetic drift, and mutation. He explains how these processes work over long timescales to shape the diversity of life. Natural selection is the key force in evolution, acting on genetic variation to favor those traits that enhance survival and reproduction. Over time, this leads to the gradual adaptation of species to their environments. However, Dawkins also highlights the role of random processes in evolution, such as genetic drift, where chance events can influence the frequency of traits in a population. These processes contribute to the complexity of evolution, making it clear that evolution is not a directed or purposeful process, but one driven by both deterministic and random factors. Convergence and divergence, a recurring theme in The Ancestor's Tale, is the concept of convergence in evolution. Dawkins explains that different species can evolve similar traits independently if they face similar environmental pressures. This phenomenon known as convergent evolution, illustrates how natural selection can lead to similar solutions to common problems, even in species that are not closely related. For example, the evolution of flight in birds, bats, and insects is a classic case of convergence, as these groups evolved similar structures, wings for flight, despite having very different evolutionary origins. On the other hand, divergence occurs when species evolve in different directions from a common ancestor, adapting to different environments or ways of life. Dawkins explores how divergence leads to the formation of new species and contributes to the vast diversity of life we see today. He uses numerous examples from the animal kingdom to show how species have adapted to specific niches, sometimes resulting in dramatic changes in form and function. Genetics plays a crucial role in Dawkins' explanation of evolution, as DNA is the molecular basis of inheritance. In the Ancestor's tale, he provides a detailed account of how genetic information is passed down from one generation to the next, and how changes in this information mutations drive evolutionary change. Dawkins emphasizes that all life shares a common genetic code, which is compelling evidence for the shared ancestry of all organisms. The study of DNA has allowed scientists to reconstruct evolutionary relationships with greater precision than ever before. Dawkins explains how genetic similarities and differences between species can be used to trace their evolutionary history, revealing surprising connections between seemingly unrelated organisms. He also discusses the concept of molecular clocks, which use the rate of genetic mutations to estimate the time at which different species diverged from their common ancestors. Human evolution is a key focus in the Ancestor's tale, and Dawkins provides a detailed account of the journey that led to the emergence of Homo sapiens. He traces the lineage of humans back through our common ancestors with other primates, mammals, and eventually all life forms. In doing so, he highlights the shared traits and behaviors that link us to other species, as well as the unique characteristics that define humanity. Dawkins discusses the evolution of human traits, such as bipedalism, brain size, and language, showing how these adaptations have shaped our species over millions of years. He also addresses the question of what it means to be human, arguing that while we possess some distinctive traits, we are fundamentally a product of the same evolutionary processes that govern all life. In this sense, human evolution is not separate from the rest of the natural world, but is deeply connected to it. At the end of the pilgrimage, Dawkins takes readers to the origin of life itself. He explores the conditions under which life might have first emerged on Earth, discussing hypotheses such as the primordial soup and hydrothermal vent theories. While the exact mechanisms of life's origin remain uncertain, Dawkins emphasizes that the emergence of life can be understood as a natural process, driven by chemistry and physics, rather than as a miraculous event. Dawkins also reflects on the possibility of life existing elsewhere in the universe. He suggests that if life did arise on other planets, it would likely follow similar evolutionary principles, as natural selection is a universal process. This speculation underscores the universality of evolution as a scientific theory, one that can explain the development of life, not only on Earth, but potentially across the cosmos. A key takeaway from the Ancestor's tale is the profound unity of all life. Dawkins uses the metaphor of a branching tree to illustrate the evolutionary relationships between species, showing how every living organism is connected through common ancestry. He argues that this unity should inspire a sense of wonder and respect for the natural world, as all life forms are part of the same great evolutionary story. Dawkins also touches on the philosophical implications of evolution, particularly the way it challenges traditional views of humanity's place in the world. Rather than seeing humans as separate from or superior to other species, Dawkins encourages readers to view themselves as part of a larger web of life, shaped by the same forces of evolution that govern all organisms.